Welcome to Live Right Tonight. I am Brandi. I'm here with Lisa, and I have the privilege to have Judge Harrison here with us today. Thank you so much for taking your time out and doing this podcast with us. It means a lot.
You're very welcome, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. There's a few questions that we have for you that we would like to ask is how did the program start and what is like the basics of it? Like how does someone qualify for this?
So I'm the judge at the mental health court. I'm actually a probate judge who's cross-assigned to handle circuit court cases, and that's how I became part of this program. So the mental health court was created in 2013 because the judges at Macomb County Circuit Court saw a need not only in their specialty courts such as drug court or sobriety court, but in courts in general. They felt there was a population that wasn't being treated, and that population suffered from severe and persistent mental illness.
Okay.
So the program was created to, if somebody was in criminal trouble, and because that criminal trouble, the cause of that criminal trouble was partially because or all the way because of their mental illness, we could create a specialty court where they could be highly supervised to protect the community, but also to reduce recidivism, which means continuing to commit crime after crime after crime,
Okay.
and to help these folks who have a real need. So a lot of times what we see is somebody with a severe and persistent mental illness will commit a crime because they stop taking their medication or they stop going to their treatment in general. That's probably the most common thing that you would see in the participants in our court. And the program was created to help these folks to not only become stable on their medication and treatment, but also to improve their lives. So when somebody feels good about themselves, somebody has a job, somebody has support, they feel better about themselves and they're more apt to be productive citizens than somebody who's out committing crimes.
Right.
So basically, they're in the criminal justice system and somebody sees that they would be a good candidate for mental health court. So that could be the judge, it could be the prosecutor, it could be the defense attorney, or it could be the participant themselves. They may see it while they're in jail. They may see flyers and things for mental health court and say, hey, that might be an alternative to incarceration for me, because many of these folks are facing real jail and or prison time.
Right.
So they would file an application, which is reviewed by the mental health court team. That team consists of a probation agent, which is Regina Williams, the coordinator, who is Jen Prill, would be part of the case management and the treatment agency, which is Matt Jenkins, John Biernat, who's defense counsel, Justin Pollard, who is our current prosecutor, and then myself. And we would review the application. We send the person to community mental health, where they're going to meet with a psychiatrist or psychologist who's going to interview them and give us a report to say what their diagnosis is, what medications they're taking or that they're not taking medication,
Right.
whether they have a substance abuse problem. And then we look at everything to see if we think that if we think that they would be a good candidate for mental health court. So usually what we're looking for is somebody who's nonviolent. We don't accept homicides or criminal sexual conduct, things like that of a real violent nature we would not accept. Or if a victim was opposed to them getting mental health court instead of incarceration, most likely we would not accept that person.
Okay.
But then I myself have to make the ultimate decision. So we discuss it as a team, and everybody puts in their part and their opinion, and then I have to make the decision as to whether we should accept them. And then
Okay.
I would actually do the sentencing myself, and they become a participant in mental health court.
Okay. And now, what is the difference between probation and mental health court? What is the difference between that?
There's a huge difference. So, probation, I always tell my participants this: probation is a second chance. So, the
Okay.
judge is giving you probation in lieu of incarceration. When you get sentenced to a specialty court like mental health court, that's a gift
Okay.
because you may be doing all the things that your friend who got in trouble with for the exact same charge and has a different judge, you may have to do the drug testing, um, the rehabilitation, inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, pay fines and costs. You may have all those things that you need to do, but we give you the tools to
Okay.
make you successful. So we give bus passes, Uber and Lyft cards so you can get to and from your drug testing, your probation, your required mental health court, which is held every week in my courtroom, so that I get to lay eyes on everybody, and that's where we would give incentives for when people are doing fantastic,
Okay.
and sanctions if they're not in compliance with the program. But we give them everything they need. They have this whole team that I just described to you, and they have it, well, aside from myself, they have everybody's phone number, they have everybody's email. If you miss the bus and you're not going to make an appointment, call somebody because
Okay.
we're going to work with you. We're not working against you. We're going to do everything in our power to make you successful. Where regular probation, not so much. I mean, you do what you're told. If you don't, you get a probation violation. Nobody's giving you a gift card because you did a good job.
Right.
It's it's so much more. It really is a gift to these folks who have gotten themselves in a really bad place, and it's amazing to see where they start and where they end. So it's the same as probation. It's more intensive too. I mean, there's a lot more therapies that we offer. Um, in regular probation, you're not getting. You might be ordered to go seek out mental health treatment, but we're handing it to you. We're giving you group therapy, individual therapy. Um, all the tools that you need to be successful are provided to you.
Okay. And then with that being said, like, what are the different stages of the programs that,
We call them milestones. So
okay.
when you enter the program, you're in milestone 1, which is stabilization. So we expect somebody to be in milestone 1 probably for 4 to 6 weeks. Then we have milestone 2, which is engagement, and you're going to be in that part for 3 to 5 months. Milestone 3 is commitment. Milestone 4 is maintenance. So by the time somebody gets through milestone 4, which you're going to be in 6 to 8 months, you should be ready to do all these things we're helping you do all on your own. So by the time you're in milestone 4, we're talking about them making dentist appointments and getting a general practitioner and
Starting to
doing all
function
the
with
things,
us.
yeah, to be able so you don't need us anymore. The best thing is that they're telling you at therapy that we don't need to see you once a month anymore. How about once every 2 months, or discontinuing group therapy, or you know the farther along they get, the less is required. So less drug testing, less visiting me at the court. um, and so that by the time you're at the end of the program, you should be ready to hit the ground running, see us in the rear view mirror, and never commit another crime, and keep up with your mental health treatment. That's number one.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
What happens if they maybe don't make it to the next milestone in the amount of time that you expect, from milestone, the first one, you said was 4 to 6 weeks. Like
Yes.
if they don't make their appointments or they're still not taking their medications, and is there like a violation similar to probation, or could they be kicked off of this program?
Well, when you if it takes you longer in a milestone, that's completely fine, and it's to be expected, especially people who have a dual diagnosis of mental illness and drug addiction or some type of substance abuse. So people are going to relapse. That happens. We expect it. We prepare for it. So having a relapse, you're not going to get kicked out of the program. That's what we're here for. We're here to help, and we're here to get you to the next phase. So if you, especially with the sobriety, if you have a relapse, it's going to take you longer because we're going to keep you in the milestone you're in to make sure you're okay to move to the next milestone where you're going to have less supervision. So you're going to get a sanction, and sanction could be anything from writing an essay, which we do a lot, and those essays would be poignant to what's going on with that particular person. So it might be why do I have a dilute drug test? That would be an example. So I make them write an essay, and they do the research that tells them how you get diluted. When is the best time of the day to test so you don't get a dilute? You know, it's things we want them to learn skills. It might be about their mental illness specifically. It could be, we make them do book reports sometimes. So that's a low grade sanction. And then it would go up from there. So it might be community service days. It might be you keep testing positive for marijuana. I'm going to make you pay for your testing until you stop test positive, because we pay for all the drug testing too. I mean, these folks, they don't have to pay anything unless they aren't pulling their weight. So it's hard to get kicked out of the program. But people, unfortunately, sometimes just aren't ready to accept the help. And those are the ones who usually drop off, and we have to do a probation violation and then terminate them.
Okay. And then for yourself, working with the program, has it helped? Have you seen this helping with with people struggling with mental illness and between the criminal side? Like, what have you seen in between those lines? Like, do you see more of yeah.
I'm sorry, more of
the success rate of between it?
Do you see like a lot of success with it and long-term benefits from this program?
Absolutely.
These individuals?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, throughout all stages of the program, you can see the participants, just a little praise from the judge goes a long way for them. I mean, we do a fishbowl where they get incentives, and, you know, so they might get a gift card and they can treat their family to Taco Bell or something like that. But just to see how proud they are to stay sober, that they're tested to make sure that they're taking their medications properly for their mental health. You know, when all their drug tests are negative, anything where we're having a great report, you can see the pride that they take. We have one participant right now who she suffered from mental illness and drug addiction, and she's now reconciled with her family. She hasn't had family in her life for years and years because of all the things that were going on and her behaviors. And now she's reconciled with her family. I mean, it's so much more than just getting through a probation and moving on with your life. It is helping these people on all sorts of levels, and we're really proud of that. But you can tell, I mean, when they read their graduation essay, there's not a dry eye in the room. They're so proud of themselves. They're so thankful for the program. They're so thankful for the team being there for them, even when we're rough on them. So yeah, it's improving their lives vastly. It's improving the recidivism rate in our county. It's keeping all our citizens safe. When somebody can leave and have a job and a functioning life and they're proud of themselves, there's nothing better than that.
Okay. That's nice. And then pretty much, with the AOT.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because you are also a judge for probate court. If you can explain, mostly for our viewers, the
Yeah.
difference between AOT and mental health court, as they're both, um, court involved programs.
So the probate court handles involuntary hospitalizations for folks with a mental illness. So mom and dad it might come to me first. Mom and dad notice their daughter stops taking her medication. She's having hallucinations. She's having grandiose thoughts. She's a threat to herself and others. She might walk out in the cold weather, improperly dressed. Could be a lot of different symptoms. So they come to the court to file for an order for transportation. And what that means is if I grant it, they're going to get an order that they're going to take to their local police department, and they're going to go to the house and they're going to transport daughter to the hospital for evaluation. She would have to be evaluated within 24 hours. And if 2 doctors say that she needs treatment for a mental illness, then they'll keep her. From there, a hospital social worker will file a petition for mental health treatment. That has to be heard by the judge within 7 days. So that would come before me. It's a regular proceeding where there's a prosecutor, an attorney is appointed for the respondent, and a doctor has to testify as to why this person should be involuntarily held in a hospital where they can't leave and they're forced treatment if I sign the order. So that's the inpatient piece. In that order, the first order is up to 60 days of hospitalization and then 180 days of assisted outpatient treatment. And that's through community mental health. So once they're stabilized in the hospital, they'll still be on a court order for assisted outpatient treatment. So that's what AOT stands for. And it could require many different things. Usually it's medication management, injectable medications if they're prescribed, case management services. It could be group therapy, individual therapy, ACT services, which is the highest level community mental health offers, where they actually come to your house for your treatment because folks have severe and persistent mental illness. So they'll be on that order for a 6-month period of time, and they could be rehospitalized on that order if they stop getting their treatment. Assisted outpatient treatment has been one of the greatest things, the way it's evolved from Kevin's Law to what we have right now. It has been the greatest hope and help for people with mental illness because they're on this order. Community mental health is making sure they're getting their treatment and they stay stable a lot longer. When this change was first made, my mental health docket, not the mental health court docket, but my mental health docket, I was hardly there. I mean, I might have 1 or 2 cases, then COVID. So COVID has had a profound impact on the mentally ill. I mean, it's had an impact on everybody, but the case numbers are off the charts now. I see people, on my mental health docket, it's probably more like 8 to 12 cases in a morning, where it was down to 1 or 2. So assisted outpatient treatment is amazing. So that's different from mental health court in that they might come to me through that way, but they have to commit a crime as well. So everybody who's in mental health court has committed some type of felony and they're on felony probation. So I may have had them in my mental health docket. I may have given them a guardianship and then they're in mental health court because of the crime that they committed.
Okay.
So unfortunately, you'll see in our applications and in our participants, they've had multiple involuntary hospitalizations, but they may not have ever been on an assisted outpatient treatment order. So you know.
Okay. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
breaking that one down.
As you know, we have a supportive services here at
Yeah.
Right for AOT. That's why I asked to hear it from you, you know, as to the differences in court-ordered treatment for the mentally ill. And just that the AOT is really kind of designed to prevent the criminal cases in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be ideal if that happened. I mean, when people stay on their medication, they're doing great. You know what I mean? Sometimes the medication needs tweaking and everything down the road, but it's when they're committing crimes, when they're off their medication, because they're having hallucinations. They're having internal voices telling them to do bad things, or telling them that, you know, somebody's coming to get you, and they're reacting to their internal stimuli, and they might break into somebody's house because they're trying to hide, or it's
So many different levels.
yeah, and that's why they need to be on their treatment.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think that answers all the questions that we have.
Yeah. Judge
Okay.
Harrison, I want to appreciate you taking your time out of your day and answering all of our questions for us and breaking everything down so we could understand a little bit more on both ends, you know. And I, again, appreciate you taking your time out.
And for all that you do for the
Yes,
community.
absolutely.
Thank you.
You are very welcome, and thank you at Live Right for providing services to folks like our participants in mental health court, because we send them to you when they need productive activities. We're
always going to be here. Just like you, we're always going to be here.
That's right.
But again, thank you so much for your time. We are going to wrap it up. Hope everybody has a blessed day. Thank you for watching.